Hi, my name is Macy Hicks, and I'm here to present my A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words speech. And here's my audience. And here are my note cards. Here sits the unicorn in captivity, his bright invulnerability captive at last. The chase long past, winded and spent by the king's spears rent, collared and tied to a pomegranate tree. Here sits the unicorn in captivity, yet free. A poem by Anne-Mar Lindbergh. The Unicorn in Captivity, a medieval tapestry depicting a unicorn in a round corral tied to a pomegranate tree, is a renowned work full of symbolism and insight to medieval tapestries. Widely known, you might have seen it in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and celebrated as one of the most beautiful surviving tapestries from the late medieval period. It hangs in the Cloisters, a wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Upper Manhattan, and I've had the fortune of seeing it twice. Today I'm going to tell you about the background, artistry, and symbolism surrounding the Unicorn in Captivity. First, I'll tell you about the origins of the tapestry. The Unicorn in Captivity is rich in history and insight into tapestries of the time period. It is the last in a series called Hunt of the Unicorn, 7 tapestries that depict the hunting, capture, and eventual killing of a unicorn, which is a theme common in medieval times. Then, tapestries symbolized wealth and often hung in castles behind thrones, and these were thought to have been done between 1495 and 1505, with Unicorn in Captivity being done toward the end of that range, according to a book, The Unicorn Tapestries by Margaret Freeman. The exact origins of the tapestry are unclear, but it was thought to have been commissioned for Anne of Brittany upon her marriage, according to the initials, the A and the E here, but that's a point now disputed, according to Freeman's book. The exact artists of the tapestry are unknown, but it was likely constructed in Brussels, which was the center of that industry, and the people involved in it would have been there to create the story, to sketch and to paint the story, to dye the silk and the wool, and to weave silver around the silk threads to create the metallics, and people to set up the loom and to weave, in addition to the people who were paying for and commissioning the tapestries to be done, according to Freeman's book. Next, let's look at the specific elements of the image. So this tapestry represents exemplary artistry that depicts a really clear image with layers of intrigue. The central image that you can see is a unicorn in a round corral tethered to a pomegranate tree. The tight weaving, bright colors, and metallic silk threads indicate wealth and create a depth to the image that is unrivaled by its peers, according to Freeman's book. It's done in the Millefleurs style, which means that it's an image set on juxtaposing flowers, which really highlights the central image, according to Masterpieces of Tapestries from the 14th to the 16th centuries, a book. Centuries of study have proven several interesting points that are really clear about the image. For example, most of the plants in this series and this image can be identified, and there are over 101 separate species of plants and flowers in the 7 tapestries combined, according to the Identification of a Plant in the Unicorn Tapestries, an article. As you can see here also, the unicorn is unhurt, very happy, not very secure in his low corral and not very tight collar, and he's alive, which is really interesting considering that in the tapestry that comes before in the sequence, he was dead. So, keeping these interesting points in mind, let's look at the symbolism of the tapestry. So there are symbols in here that are both religious and secular. The religious symbols tie around the idea that the unicorn is a risen Jesus Christ, seeing as he was dead in the previous tapestry. The unicorn is often a symbol for Christ because it's pure and innocent, and it would make sense with this series because the hunt and the capture and the killing of the unicorn could mirror the trial and the death of Jesus. This is further corroborated by the wreath of thorns around his neck, his willingness to be in here in the corral, and the Madonna lilies and the carnations and the other flowers that are often associated with Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary. That's according to a book called Tapestry in the Renaissance, Art and Magnificence, and another book called Unicorn Tapestries at the Metropolitan Museum by Adolf Cavallo. And so for the secular image, this series could be seen as a love story ending in a marriage. So here the unicorn can be a man willingly trapped by a woman in his not very secure corral and tethered to a pomegranate tree, which symbolizes wealth and fertility at the time, according to Freeman and Cavallo. And if you see the liquid here, if you don't interpret it as fruit juice, but instead as blood, it could be seen as a wound from Cupid's arrow, which has left no lasting wound on the lover but done its job. So now you know lots about the Unicorn in Captivity tapestry. It's beautiful, complex, and widely studied, aesthetically pleasing, and intellectually stimulating. The depiction of this mythical creature is renowned and full of symbolism and insight into medieval tapestries. So I hope that you've enjoyed learning about this tapestry and go forward seeing art with more depth in the future. Thank you. Any questions?
Why is the unicorn white?
Unicorns are almost always white to symbolize their purity and innocence. They're almost never shown in different color in art.
How did the Metropolitan Museum come to have these tapestries?
Sure. So like I said, it was commissioned for French nobility and passed through the ranks of that family and eventually ended up in the Rockefeller family. And the Rockefellers then donated it to the museum in the 1930s.
You talked about the letters in the tapestry. Are there letters in the tapestry of that series, other tapestries?
Yeah, so as you could see there, you could see the A and the E that were highlighted, and that can be seen in all 7 of the tapestries and a few other initials too that indicate its origins.